What is up, everybody? We're Rolling Audio here today on episode 40 of The Harder Show. How the hell are you? I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day so far. Thank you so much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I'm going to be sitting down with Mr. Dom Paron of Out of My League, the vocalist for Out of My League. And we have an absolutely awesome conversation. I'm really looking forward to you guys to hear it. He was so candid and he was so passionate when he messaged me. The fact that he messaged me and literally was like, "Hey, dude, like I'm coming on the podcast. When can I do this? Because it's happening like now." So he was very passionate about it. I didn't plan on having Dom on first as the first guy out of my league, just because I even say it in the podcast, because I know Dom the least out of all the guys. So I figured, I'll do Steven's first maybe, because I think I would say I know him best or whatever. And just even Steven commented that he thought it was funny when Dom told him he was going to be on the podcast, just for that reason. But have no fear. All those guys will be on the podcast for sure, because they all are good dudes and they all have very interesting stories and everything. It was just decided to have Dom on first, just because literally of how passionate he was and the fact that he didn't give me a choice. So it's a really great conversation. I'm in a great mood, guys. If you couldn't tell, I'm very excited for you guys to hear this. I put up a video earlier this week kind of hyping it. Didn't say who was on. Of course, everyone could pretty much figure it out pretty quick if they know Dom. If not, some people were kind of scratching their heads. So it was very cool to be able to do this and kind of drop this the way I have. Like I said, it is an absolutely awesome conversation. You guys will hear part 2 of this conversation on Sunday. Part 1 here today, what we're just about to get into here, we talk mostly about how he got started in music, how Out of My League got started, a little bit of history of the band, and just kind of stuff, things of that nature. Sunday's episode, we get into a whole bunch of stuff as far as we talk in depth about Dom's lyrics, his writing process, things like that, performing, and things of that nature. He was very open and honest and candid to talk about literally anything I wanted. Some guys who write lyrics for bands and stuff, sometimes they want to talk about what the lyrics mean to them. Sometimes they don't, so I was really glad that Dom was so open to talk about everything, because I am legit a fan. And if you can't tell in the podcast, there's a couple moments where I just kind of had to go, like, this is awesome, even though I know Dom personally and stuff, and, people say, oh, well, they're just a Bowmanville band, but he even says that in the podcast. He's like, I can't believe that people, get so, worked up about us sometimes. It's like, we're just a band from Bowmanville, but they're an awesome band from Bowmanville, and it's the fact that they have that attitude of we're not a big deal. I say in the podcast, I really want these guys to go far, because I'm such a fan of theirs. So this was really awesome to be able to do with Dom. And I'm going to stop yakking away here, and we are going to get into this. Just real quick, I, of course, want to give a big shout out to my man, Mr. Jason Reese, over at Jaybird Digital Arts. You guys know how much awesome work that Jason does. If you guys need any kind of digital art of any kind, you guys need album covers, you guys need logos, you guys need any kind of promotional stuff. He did the Harder Show logo. He did basically everything you see that is logo or digital art for the Harder Show. You can bet your ass Jason had something to do with it, because he does such awesome work for a great price, and he is a great dude all around as well. I know he supports the podcast, so I really appreciate that. Jason, what's up, buddy? I know you're listening, so give you a big shout out. What's going on? You guys can check Jason out over at Jaybird Digital Arts. Check out his website, www.jaybird, that's Jaybird, digitalarts.ca. Awesome stuff. Highly recommend it. And let him know if you're going to use his services that I sent you, just so he knows that I'm sending people his way, because he does such awesome work. Now, without further ado, I want to just dive right into this here, part 1 of my conversation with Dom Paron of Out of My League. Let's get into it. I'm sitting here in the kitchenette area of the Harder Show studios, aka my basement apartment. Sitting at my kitchen table, got the rig all set up, got some water here, drinking the hard stuff today. And I'm sitting here with a man who definitely doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is the lead vocalist of a little band from Bowmanville, Ontario, that I have talked about a fucking shit ton on the podcast. I have literally had people message me and go, dude, like, okay, like, we love that band and everything, but, like, take a break. Like, take a break, dude. And my response is usually, fuck you, don't tell me what to do. Ladies and gentlemen, on the podcast right now, Dom Paron of Out of My League.
Hello. Good
What's up,
to be
dude?
here.
Sitting in my kitchen. My cats are running around like crazy, so forgive me if there's any weird random noises. But it's cool. You are I have to say, you're the first person who literally like messaged me and was like, I'm coming on your podcast.
Yeah, dude.
When is this happening? Like,
No. Like I've always wanted to do like a big like thing like this, like a cool like just discussion style kind of interview.
Yeah, definitely. And like you're definitely like it's funny for me because like, you know, like I know who you are, we know each other and shit, but like I don't know you at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah. No, Steven was just saying to me like it's funny that you're doing this because like TJ probably knows you the least
out of everyone,
out of the five.
Yeah, which is funny too because I was gonna like probably like have either Steven or like Taylor on first just to kind of be like, you know, because I know them the best.
Yeah.
But then when you messaged me and you were just like, dude, like, I want to be on the podcast. And I was like, fucking right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because there's literally so much shit I want to ask you about, so much bullshit. I literally have a list of stuff that I want to ask you. And of course, on the Harder Show, we don't do interviews. We hang out, we shoot the shit. So you guys know if we go off on some kind of weird tangent that has nothing to do with the question I asked or whatever, is what it is. We'll come back. We always do. But the way I usually kind of like to start these things off is I like to talk about how we know each other or how we first met. And I have to be brutally honest with you, I don't remember to it really how we even like met.
I think I know the moment. If we could have met before, we could not have. But I think the first time we met was before Out of My League played at Battle of the Bands in 2013. It was their first show ever without me. Like I wasn't in, but Ali and I were good friends, and he came in to get his bass set up.
That's right.
And I was with him, and he came in and he was just like, you guys were talking, and you guys had probably met before at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if you and I like really said that much.
I think I was just kind of like, hey, how's it going, dude? Like,
yeah, you were like, yeah, like whatever. Like it was between you. The business was between you and Ali. I was just with him because like we'd hang out like every day. But yeah, I think that was the first time like we not officially met, but like,
but we kind of.
But I think we officially met at probably another point in gigs because at Battle of the Bands 2013 I was just mostly in the front the whole time and didn't talk to anybody except for like my close friends.
I wasn't even there at that event. So
yeah, you weren't there. So yeah,
so I wasn't even there.
Talked there.
It was definitely the time I really remember was at next year's Battle of the Bands, the first one you guys played.
2014.
Yeah, and I remember like just kind of walking right up to him and being like, hey, like, you're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of like, oh, thanks, dude. Like,
yeah, no, that was my first Battle of the Bands with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it was a very awesome event. I'm sure we will talk in depth about that. But,
for sure.
It's definitely, like I mentioned, it's funny how, like, there's so much stuff I'm going to learn with this as well, and I haven't really said anything yet that you're going to be on the podcast to anyone.
Okay.
Like no one.
Yeah.
So like I'm going to just kind of like drop this, like what you guys are hearing right now. This is the hype. There's no hype. It's just, hey, Dom's on the show. What's up? And people are going to be like, wait, what the fuck? Like, when did this even happen? But there's tons of stuff I want to ask. Probably the first and foremost thing, I guess, would really be how you got started on all this bullshit. How you got started with screaming and that. I think is, as far as I'm concerned, and this is a very big, bold statement. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass.
Yeah.
I think you're the best screamer in our scene.
Well, thank you.
And that's I might piss some people off when I say that, but legit, like
I appreciate it.
I hear you and I'm like, damn, like it's not too low, it's not too high, it's kind of, it's tasteful. You can actually hear what you're saying, and it's good. So I'm interested in just kind of how you got started with all that.
Yeah. Okay. So I started off not screaming. I just kind of like, I've always just sang along to songs, really. I've never really thought I was that great of a singer. But when I started hanging out with Ali more when I got into high school. And I'm sure you all know by now that Ali plays bass in Out of My League.
Yes, Ali is the bass player, the low end master of Out of My League. I'm sure Ali will be on the podcast at some point as well. Shout out to Ali.
Yeah, shout out to Ali. Anyway, so he was like one of the first friends I made in high school, and we started talking. Like he started kind of getting me into more heavier music, and I didn't really listen to any metal besides like that new metal, like new age stuff from like before, like Slipknot and System of a Down bands. Like those are my starter bands. Anyways, so I started playing in a band with Ali and Mav and a couple of our other friends. That band was called Men of Steel. I think you guys talked about it on the podcast with Mav.
Yes, and there was a question, just because we're on that, I wasn't going to ask you this till later, because we're on this topic real quick.
Sure.
And I'm going to do this a lot.
No,
just
no
kind of
worries.
jump in. There was a little story Mav told me about that, and I'm just curious about it, because I kind of went, really? He told me, and I don't remember if this was on the podcast or not.
Okay.
But the story he told me was that you guys were going to perform Nightmare at your school's Battle of the Bands.
By Avenged Sevenfold.
And like, was it last minute or something? You were just like, nah, dude, I don't want to do it. Or
No.
What?
No.
He said you didn't want to do it.
That's true. I was too nervous. I didn't
Really?
want to do it. And because I had never done anything in front of a crowd of that size, I wasn't even Out of My League yet or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we played, and when I was in Men of Steel, we covered like literally like Avenged Sevenfold and like For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica. That was like the only thing we did. And I just sit there and sing. I don't think I was even good. I just sang.
It's kind of hanging.
Yeah, like straight up. So there's that. And then Nightmare was one of the songs we did. And I thought it was pretty fucking terrible, like for me at least.
He's going to be honest about it.
Yeah. And then they were like, we're going to do it at BHS. Like, that's at my school, Bowmanville High School. Last Blast. And I was like, yeah, like, fuck that. I'm not doing it. And like they tried to convince me to do it for so long. I was like, no, not doing it. And so I guess the way I got started with screaming and like actually taking vocals seriously, because I really didn't in that band, because it was more for fun, right?
Yeah, sure.
I was just kind of getting into the whole music thing in general. I hung out with sat in on a practice or two of Out of My League once or twice when Calvin was still that was the original vocalist, Calvin Cole. And I was like, oh, like this is so cool. And I wasn't friends with Steven or Taylor or Anthony. I just kind of like looked up to them as like cool grade 12 kids that like, I was in 9th grade, right?
Yeah, I always forget that you're a little bit younger than them. I always forget that.
No, like I'm only 18 years old and these guys are like all 20, right? So anyways, I just looked up to them and thought they were like cool older kids. So
I'm sorry,
it's weird, right?
It's just funny because like when I originally met, like, say someone like Ali.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, for sure.
Very quiet. Drake kind of bringing his bass in, and like me, like Taylor and Steven kind of same deal, and like it's funny, but just Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah. So I came in and like whatever, kind of got to know them, and then Ali was like, the Men of Steel people kind of went their separate ways when Ali said like he was going to do full-time bass in Out of My League, and like Matt and Connor was like, I don't really want to do it if Ali's not like doing it. And then Ali said, Dom, like, this is a funny story too, because at that point he thought I could only sing. He said, do you want to come join Out of My League and do clean vocals, and Calvin will scream? And it was going to be originally
I didn't know that.
A double frontman band, like two frontmen. And
which can work if it's done right.
Yeah, there are good bands that have that. So anyway, Calvin ended up just getting scrapped. Like they just were like, you know what, like whatever, it's not working out. So Ali said, so they were like, all right, Dom, like, do you want to do like a full-time screaming like gig, like that's
Yeah.
it. And I was like, and I was so like, it was one of those things where I just like looked up to them and I was like, oh God, like I can't really turn this down, right? So I was like, all right, and I had no idea how to scream or any of that. So I was like, okay, they're like, do you want to do a song? And I was like, yeah, like I know the lyrics. And so we did the earliest version of The City, which is like it's the first track off of our first EP. And it didn't even really sound how it sounds on that album yet. And I like just did my best and they were like, yeah, that was sick. Like, welcome aboard. And I was like, all right. And then I was like, all right, like I'm not going to do Men of Steel. I'm just going to do this and dedicate my time to this. Mm-hmm. And then when we played our first show, I just tore my voice apart because I was just using this power fry screaming technique that I didn't know what I was doing. I was using the dumbest techniques. Like I was drinking honey on stage and like trying all this stupid ass stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. So then I was like, you know what? Like I'm going to actually like put my time into doing this and learning it properly.
Craft of how to scream. Because there's a friggin' art form to scream properly.
Yeah. Like so I started like watching things online, like looking at vocal lessons online. The real thing that got it for me, a lot of screaming vocalists will say this, is I don't know if you know about the Melissa Cross DVDs.
I was literally just about to ask if you ever checked their stuff out.
Yeah, Melissa Cross taught me most of the technique that I still use today. And like when I found out that she taught Randy Bly from Lamb of God,
who's like he's my favorite like all time like screamer.
He's phenomenal, and he has like one of the most unique voices. Him and like a lot of other bands that I like, and I was like, all right. And I watched her DVDs and I was like, whoa, like I've never heard of any of this. And then like slowly over time, I just found what works for me and what's comfortable for me, and like found my own voice. So I guess that's how I got started.
Cool. Oh, that's sick. Like it's something that with you, it's like one of my favorite screamers of all time. He's a guy by the name of Morgan Rose. He's the drummer for a band called Seven Dust. Okay. I'm not expecting you to know who they are. I think it's okay.
No, I know who they are. I've never listened to them.
Yeah, his scream, like if I showed it to you, you'd be like, holy shit, like that's pretty interesting. Because it's just very like kind of high pitched, but like not really. It's really like, it's unique. Like when you hear it, you immediately go, that's fucking Morgan. And like sometimes with the low guttural stuff, sometimes I'll listen to it and I'll go, oh, that's this band. No, it's not. It's this band. I'm like, oh shit, sorry. Like, yeah. And that's just not necessarily through ignorance. It's just like sometimes I have a hard time telling the difference. And you know, I'll hear like an Out of My League and I'm like, oh, that's fucking Dom. Like that's Out of My League. Like you hear that, it's like scream, but it's like clear.
Yeah.
And I could tell, like, I'm like, okay, like he knows what he's doing, because you can tell when someone's tearing their voice apart.
Yo, I completely agree. And the thing is, like, I've never tried to like sound like anybody else. Like I've always wanted to just like have my own voice and have like a unique thing. So like, I don't know. I'd try to like follow techniques and I'd scream along to like bands I used to listen to back then, and I'd be like, oh yeah, and like just try my best to follow along, but I was never like trying to sound like anyone specifically. Yeah,
which is cool because you have a unique take on what it is you do, and by listening to your scream vocals, I could go, I know this guy can sing because you can hear it, and I'm like, I can't wait for that day to happen. It did happen. We'll get to that a little later.
Yeah.
But so obviously you were mentioning like, you know, bands and that you used to listen to. So what were like some of the bands you listened to that influenced you, like necessarily before metal?
Okay, so the first band I ever like actually really liked was Billy Talent. Red Flag was a song off of Billy Talent 2, which is top 3 favorite albums of all time. Billy Talent 2, definitely one of them. I can listen to that album any day, all day. If anyone's never heard of that album, like you need to listen to it.
Go look it up.
Yeah, so Billy Talent 2 was the first like full album I ever listened to that I was like, they were the first band where I heard Red Flag and I was like, holy shit. And I was in like probably like 5th grade or something, and I was like, I have to hear like the rest of this album. I have to hear like everything by this band. And I looked up Billy Talent 2, loved it. Listened to Billy Talent 1, loved it just as much. And I was like, okay. So that was the first band, and then I started watching like live performances by them. And Ben, I think his last name is pronounced Kowalowicz, I think. He's got a crazy last name.
Yeah.
The frontman of Billy Talent is just insane. Like I love him, and I just like, they were the first band that inspired me as like a live show and just like in general. And then I started getting into like, I listened to like kind of like the more melodic punk. Like I liked Green Day a lot, a little bit of Blink-182.
Cool.
And then in like 7th grade, I started finding just through like shitty like Halo and like Call of Duty montage videos on YouTube. I would like find like just like new metal and stuff like Disturbed and
fucking Disturbed.
Disturbed was all over YouTube. Found System of a Down, who are one of my all-time favorite bands. Slipknot was the first metal band that I got into like ever. Like late 8th grade, I found them, and I like first it kind of scared the shit out of me. I was kind of just like, oh my god, like what the hell?
What is this noise?
And then I like listened to it more and more. I'm like, okay, this is sick. And then so pre-metal, if you're talking about for bands that I listened to, Billy Talent was really the only one in the beginning.
They're probably like you're definitely an influence of yours as far as
and Rise Against. Rise Against is another band that I got into like shortly after Billy Talent. So,
cool. So as far as like I mean, metal, I guess is now. It's funny because you say like, oh, pre-metal, like a band like Disturbed. From my like when I was like in high school, that was like when Disturbed were.
Yeah.
So it's funny to me. Like I hear someone, I was in like 7th grade and Disturbed, and I'm like, holy shit, like it's just funny to me. But like some of like Disturbed's old stuff, you go back and listen to it, and it's like there is some brutal stuff on there.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, the newer stuff, they're definitely more hard rock now, but
yeah, they were never really like one of my favorite bands. They were just one of those bands that
you
were
just
like,
heard them and you're like, oh, cool, sick. Disturbed.
Yeah, like cool music. Oh shit, another band totally forgot about, super important band to me that I need to mention, Linkin Park.
Yes.
Like Hybrid Theory, another one of my like top favorite albums. That is another band that I loved with like Billy Talent and Rise Against in them that I listen to all the time, and like they mean a lot to me today still, and they're like super inspirational for me. So yeah, Linkin Park.
Well, that's sick. So they got Linkin Park, Billy Talent. Now, as far as kind of as you started getting into metal, and even still today, what did you listen to then, and what are you listening to now?
Yeah. So grade 9, Ali showed me like Avenged Sevenfold and like some of the bands like that kind of style, and I was like, all right, cool. Like I've heard this kind of stuff before. Like right on. Avenged Sevenfold's like kind of a throwback band for me. Mm-hmm. And then the first like metalcore kind of band was
it's funny for me because like the same thing happened with Mav. Like he'll be talking about like, oh, Avenged Sevenfold's a throwback band for me, and like I'm sitting here like when Avenged Sevenfold came out, I was like 15, 16 years old. So it's just funny hearing something like, oh, it's like a throwback band for me.
No,
I know you don't necessarily mean like they're like an old band or anything. I know what you mean, but it's just for me, it's like
it's interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's really like people are like, oh, like yeah, the first album I heard by Avenged Sevenfold was the last album they did with the Rev. I'm drawing a blank on its name right now.
The last band.
Yeah,
the last album they made.
With the Rev, their original drummer.
The self-titled.
Yeah, it was a
which was my favorite Avenged Sevenfold album.
Same here. And just like I think like someone said it to me once, and I was like, how? Then I'm like, okay, wait a minute, you're born in like 97. Fair enough, I guess. But it's just funny to me. I don't know. I was just smirking away because I was just like, it's just funny to me.
So yeah, for metalcore, which is the genre that Out of My League is for the most part. First band I really listened to was probably Of Mice and Men, and I don't really listen to them much anymore, but I remember Ali showed them to me and I was like, what the hell is this shit? Like that was like garbage. It was like gut reaction. And like a lot of like I feel like a lot of my friend group, like Mav included and Ali included, the first time they heard anything with screaming in it were like, whoa, like what
is this?
Slipknot was an exception for me. I don't know what it was about Slipknot. They're just like a special band like that. But
Slipknot's like and it's Corey Taylor.
Yeah,
that's why, because he's Corey Taylor.
Yeah. Anyway, Of Mice and Men, and there's a song that seriously like I owe like so much to, and it's by Of Mice and Men. It's called The Depths, and that was the song Ali showed me. I was like, oh, whatever. And then I went home and like I just was in my head, and I like looked it up on YouTube, and I was like, fuck, like this is actually pretty badass. And then I would listen to it all night. Came back to school the next day. And I went up to Ali and I was like, yo, that song is amazing. Give me the rest. And then he had already started listening to that kind of music, like earlier, grade 9 kind of thing. And so I was going on a skiing trip to Vermont, and I was like, all right, I'm going to be in the mountains like skiing for hours. I need music. Give me like all kinds of bands like that. And he gave me Of Mice and Men, A Day to Remember, and Bring Me the Horizon. And those are like the big 3 like first metalcore bands for me that like got the whole like fucking train rolling of like listening to metalcore and hardcore.
Day to Remember.
A Day to Remember is like they're like on my bucket list to see, and I'm seeing them this summer, and like I've never been more stoked to see a band. Like I can't wait.
Their new single they just dropped,
amazing.
Because I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of their old stuff, and I heard that, and I was like, "What the fuck is it? Like what?
Yeah,
like, what is this?"
It was like super hardcore for them, and like it was great. And like I've always loved Day to Remember. I love every one of their albums. But like I don't know, it's so sick that they're still making shit that's like catching me off guard. Anyway, them Bring Me the Horizon is like the out of my league inspired band. Like I mean, not inspired band that inspires all of us.
Collectively,
every member of Out of My League loves Bring Me the Horizon.
Yes, and that's important to have that one band everyone kind of all likes.
And yeah, so anyway, A Mice and Men for me, I don't listen to them anymore. But their album The Flood like is like a classic for me. And A Day to Remember I still listen to today, and Bring Me the Horizon. Or I still listen to today as well. So yeah, like those are like the big 3 metalcore bands. Nowadays, I listen to so much shit. There's like I could go on and on. I've been listening to like a lot of like you can hear it in Resented, like the different bands that we all like and that I've been listening to. Like you can hear my like vocal, like the way I scream and like just like the inspiration. Like I love right now Architects, The Ghost Inside. I've been listening to a lot of hardcore lately, like Kublai Khan is great. Knocked Loose, Code Orange.
Kublai Khan are like sick.
Yeah, they're like
awesome.
They were the first like really like rugged kind of band I got into, and like I started listening to them, and I was just like, oh my god, this is like the heaviest shit. Like it was just like such heavy hardcore, and it's just like fuck. And like now I listen to like a lot of bands like that, and so yeah, hardcore is definitely like a big inspiration for me now. Not as much as it used to be. So yeah, like Out of My League, like I feel like especially in Resented, like you can hear all the different genres, like metalcore and hardcore, especially coming together.
There's definitely some hardcore elements in there, which is sick.
Because like we'll play shows with like metalcore bands, and like people will come up to us and be like, "Man, I didn't expect to like get into a hardcore band tonight, but you guys were good." And I'm kind of like, "What?" Like I never considered us a hard, but like I've actually heard it from a lot of people, like saying like we're a hardcore kind of band, and I was like, "Oh, I mean, there are a lot of riffs on there that are more hardcore
yeah, definitely
inspired.
Hardcore-y." And it's funny because when someone says hardcore, immediately my brain goes to like bands like Hatebreed.
Oh no, Hatebreed's such a hardcore like throwback too.
And now it's like I come and it's like people have all these like new hardcore bands, and I listen to it and I'm like, that's sick, but I'm like, that's hard. You consider that hardcore? Damn, all right, cool. Like
so yeah, and that's the thing. You can fight about genre all day, but like there's lots of different like styles of hardcore, and like at the end of the day, like for example, like The Ghost Inside, they're like kind of a little bit more like melodic hardcore. Stray from the Path is a hardcore band with like a lot of metalcore in it, and then there's bands like I don't know, Comeback Kid. That's a hardcore band, but like they all fall under the genre of hardcore. It's all hardcore, but they're just all different, which is awesome.
Yeah, and you got bands like I mean like Hatebreed's like one of my favorite bands. So I always like you know, you ask Jamie Josta, hey, like Josta, what do you consider Hatebreed? He's gonna say hardcore, but you ask one of their friends, oh, they're crossover hardcore thrash.
Yeah. So like,
how dare you call them hardcore?
Who fucking cares? Like, it's a hardcore band.
They don't have songs that are 2 minutes long. They sold out. It's like,
yeah,
shit. But so what if someone was to come up to you and say, hey, Dom, what is Out of My League? Are you guys hardcore? Are you metalcore? Do you just kind of group it into one thing? Or obviously with respect to the fact that you could be considered different things.
Yeah,
obviously.
like I don't know, if you go on our Facebook, it says metalcore/hardcore.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I think for the most part, we're just like a metalcore band.
Yeah.
And like, I'm fine with that. If you want to call us a hardcore band, I'm fine with that. Like, call us whatever you want, but like one of the two, but prominently metalcore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if someone came up and they're like, oh, like you're a sick deathcore band, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like,
what are you talking about?
Not at all.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
But I don't know. So yeah, those two. I'd say we're a metalcore band.
Cool.
Leave it at that.
Because whenever someone asks me, like, oh, like what kind of band is this Out of My League band you always plug in? I'm like, oh, they're like a metalcore band. They're like,
yeah.
what?
But if you don't like if you like, I might say metalcore, and then immediately someone will think of like, I don't know, something genty like Meshuggah or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like that's not what it is. Like, so people who are immediately turned off by when they hear the word metalcore, there's a lot of different bands that are totally different associated with metalcore. So like, I suggest like at least like checking it out first.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got like metalcore. Like again, when I think of metalcore, I think of like older All That Remains, Kill Switch Engage.
For sure.
Holy shit, I'm thinking of a whole bunch of like the 2000s
Old Avenged
era
Sevenfold.
like kind of like the 2000s, mid 2000s kind of metalcore that like exploded, then kind of went away for a while, and then it's kind of coming back.
Yeah. See, like when I think metalcore, I think like original metalcore. I think of like The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
August Burns Red. The like. I don't. That's such a. It's kind of a joke, but like the crabcore style metalcore.
Yes, all
that's
that
just
shit.
got, like,
I remember
all the
when
open notes, like
Yeah.
the jing, 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 like
All that kind of shit.
yeah. But anyway, it's up to interpretation, and that's fine. Like just right now, like we have like a lot of metalcore elements and just a bit of hardcore elements.
Yeah, there's some hardcore in there.
Just
which
call
is
it what
cool.
you will.
Yeah, which is sick. It's you're out of my league. That's
Yeah.
fucking. That's what it is. As Lemmy would say, it's all rock and roll. So, when was the first time? I think you kind of touched on it earlier, but when was the first time you really like sat down and heard and saw Anime League for the first time? Because obviously, like you are. I mean, I really consider you the original vocalist.
Yeah.
But I guess technically, with respects to Calvin, of course, like. You know, he was technically the first.
I think if you
vocalist in
played a
that.
show with Out of My League, like you can be considered a vocalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did. So yeah, and he was in the original lineup. So right. So anyways, the first time I heard them was I sat in on a practice at Stevens. The practice space has moved to every member's house except for Anthony's, and it was originally in Stevens' basement. And like I don't know, it kind of like. Everybody had ass equipment back then, so it didn't sound very good, and I couldn't hear Calvin at all, and like it was just kind of like hurting my ears more than anything. But I was like, oh, like this is just, I didn't care. I was like, this is so cool, like all these guys, like, and then I actually saw them for the first time, and really heard them at Battle of the Bands 2013, their first show, and if you actually watch. There is a video of it, no longer online, but we have a video of it, and like if you were to watch it, you can see me in the front row. It was a pretty packed show, and like you can see me in the front row on the far right with my little brother, and I'm just like banging my head so hard, like oh yeah, like so I don't know. I just thought they were cool as fuck and like, everything. Like it wasn't so much like I was impressed by like just like the songs or the talent
That's
or
some
anything.
good songwriting, bro.
No, I was just like cool, like. Because it's just like a heavy metalcore band from Bowmanville, which after like This Is Death Valley and In the Act of Violence kind of went away, like from Bowmanville, there was no metal kind of bands. And Out of My League was just kind of like, oh shit, like.
But yeah, like when they kind of started focusing their efforts more in Oshma on that, there was kind of a bit of a.
Yeah,
like there was some bands around in that, but like when Gigs Music opened in 2012, there was not much going on.
I was gonna say 2011 was like the last year of like metalcore / deathcore bands in Bowmanville that were like well known.
Yeah,
and then I think we were probably the first ones to come back in like 2013. So it's like you said, 2012 I guess could be considered like the gap year.
Yeah, like when I right around the time I started working at Gigs more, as far as bands I started to hear about, you guys were the first one as far as, check out this Out of My League band. And I'm pretty sure it was your brother who told me to check you guys out. But
yeah, because he came in and bought like a microphone or something.
Yeah, because I remember, it's funny. It was him and Mav who were the first two, but he was the first, like your brother Luke, he was literally the first quote unquote kid. I can say that because I'm like 5-6 years older than some of you guys.
He's literally 16 years old.
So I'm literally like almost 10 years older than him.
Yeah.
Like he was the first one who came in, and he was like just like we like were shooting the shit and that, and he's just like, oh, I'm gonna like take a bunch of your cards, and like he was like advertising for us. So shout out to Luke.
Yeah.
But with that kind of gap, it was like I didn't really hear about it a lot, and then slowly it was, oh yeah, there's this Out of My League band. They're really sick. And like the first time I checked you guys out, it was the live recording of and this was a while ago, but it was also long after you guys were still a band. Like I would catch YouTube videos, but it's like I don't really like to base stuff off that because I'm like sometimes it's good quality, sometimes it's not. And it was a live recording you guys did of it was The City and Lily of the Valley.
Oh yeah, at the Rock Pile.
Yes, and that literally I played like that on repeat for like 2 months straight.
Oh shit.
And I was like, this is fucking like off your guys' first EP, off Beautiful Calamity. The City is like my jam. I don't
Yeah.
even know why so much. I
Yeah.
just love that song.
No, that's cool. I don't think we even had it out at that point, though. I don't think
No.
we had the real music out.
Yeah, and then it was once the EP came out, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
it's on now.
Yeah.
And like we like sold it in the store and stuff. So it was just kind of funny how you talk about the surgency of that. It really did kind of. It was like there was not really a whole lot, and all of a sudden, holy shit, there's like 6 bands.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool seeing that all come up, and see Mav go from fat little Mav wearing his cap and his Slayer belt buckle to fat Mav wearing his. He knows I'm joking.
No.
We talk enough about Mav on this podcast, but it's just kind of funny how that whole thing.
Yeah,
went
no,
out.
for
But,
sure.
So you also kind of touched on this earlier. So when you joined the band, you didn't know any of the guys but Ali, right? That was
Yep. Yeah, I had met Taylor maybe like once or twice in the hallways. Taylor and Steven had like this weird like spot they would hang out every day with like their friends. And it was weird because Anthony wasn't really in the same like clique as them. Like he had like his own group of friends, and then Taylor and Steven had their own group. And then Anthony and then they would all just meet up at band practice.
Yeah.
And then that's how it was. And so I really only didn't get to know them until I joined the band.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like we're all like best friends now. So.
Oh yeah, I can tell you guys are like. That's the one thing I always say to bands, like when you form a band, form it with people. Try and form it with people you know and that you like and you're friends with, so that you know.
Yeah, and
can
was
stick it
in
out.
the beginning. It wasn't that way for me.
Yeah.
I just kind of joined because I was like, "Holy fuck, this is so cool!"
Yeah, and sometimes it can. I hate to use this word, but blossom into something more than that. Then you're not just, oh yeah, he's in my band. It's like, no, this is my boy. This is Dom. Like, it's,
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask about kind of how you joined the band, but you did kind of touch on that earlier.
Yeah.
Just, you were there, and it's like, oh, try a song and too. So same thing with the first jam, I guess. Is there anything else kind of from the first jam you remember, or what was the song you said it was The City, right? That's the
Yeah,
first song you
I
guys
mean that was the first time I tried, and it was like so on the spot and like weird. And then I started to like learn all the other songs, and I remember I still have it to this day. It was like a lyric book that Calvin and Taylor would write songs in, and there were like a fuckload of songs in there that never got made.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and but no, there was like 6 Feet Under, The City, and For All Those Forgotten, and those were the only songs off of, and Agony, which actually was a song we used to play all the time. I don't know if anyone remembers.
I remember
Agony.
that song.
We actually used to play it a lot, and it was going to be on Beautiful Calamity. It was recorded and everything. And then I think in the end, we just ended up not liking how it turned out or something, and we decided not to put it on, and then it kind of just faded away after that. We never played it again. But those were the 4 songs that I learned and that were already made and like before. And so I kind of learned those and practiced with those. And then once we started to try and write new material, DNS and Beautiful Calamity got made, and those were the 2 songs that I wrote on Beautiful Calamity.
Cool.
So yeah, I don't know if you ever knew that, but
Yeah, no, I didn't know who wrote what.
yeah, 6 Feet Under, For All Those Forgotten, and The City are all written by Calvin.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
I kind of like went over them again after and like
Yeah,
kind of fixed
kinda,
up,
yeah.
touched up some stuff. And then DNS and Beautiful Calamity are like my lyrics, complete
Yes.
100%.
And you said it was Beautiful Calamity, right? Was the other one you wrote? That's,
Yeah, Beautiful Calamity. Yeah, I wrote that song, and I remember I was like so stoked on it. I don't write lyrics like that anymore, but I remember when I first wrote it, I was like, oh, I'm so fucking stoked on this song. And I actually just remembered DNS was actually written by Taylor first, and it was actually like a party song before.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was like a party jam, and the lyrics like weren't serious. They were kind of like just funny.
Kind of like a goofy.
And then like when we were putting on the EP, I was like, yeah, this isn't going on this like EP with like all these like serious songs like with these kind of lyrics. Like the rest of the song will remain the same. The instrumentals are sick.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna like, and then I rewrote all the lyrics and did it like about something more.
A lot
like,
more serious.
More serious.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to ask about all that. We'll get into that. But
Yeah.
as far as the first EP, I mean, obviously, as you guys know, I've been using 6 Feet Under
Yeah,
as my
that's
intro
sick.
for the last like 20 episodes. No one has said anything, and because I was going to change it every 10 episodes. And when I started getting ready to do this podcast, and I kind of like, because I'm talking about doing this forever. The intro song I had in my head every time I would like hear it was 6 Feet Under, the intro, like straight up. I was like, that needs to be the intro. And
Yeah.
when I literally asked, I asked Anthony, think it was Anthony and Steven. I'm like, yo, guys, so like, can I just use this? And he was just like, dude, of course, like, go for it.
No, that's cool.
I might have to like buy the rights from you guys so I can just use it. Because I had like a couple bands that were gonna like write me music, and it just kind of unfortunately never really panned out. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna use this. So obviously, you guys know how much I love that EP.
Yeah.
And how much I love the song "Beautiful Calamity" as well. Fucking. And DNS, obviously, it's probably my favorite riff off that record. So very cool. I never knew all that. That's awesome. Do you remember? I mean, I'm sure you remember that. The first gig you guys did, like the first gig when you joined the band. What was that like?
No,
what
I remember.
Were you feeling and.
So the first gig I was ever in was the summertime of 2013, I think, and it was a show. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. No, it was. It was at the Firehouse, hometown Bowmanville.
Good old Firehouse. Shout out to Chris.
Yeah, shout outs to Chris. And it was, I think, no. It was us and a band that isn't around anymore, but they were sick, and they were called Denied Existence. I don't know if anyone remembers them.
I heard the name. I never knew who was in the band.
They're all guys from Port Perry.
Oh, okay.
But the reason I found out about them was because my cousin lives in Port Perry, and I was out there, and he's like, yeah, like, it was when I first joined the band. He's like, that's cool. I have a friend named Jordan. His name's Jordan Bull. He was the vocalist. He says, in a band like you. And they're called Denied Existence. I was like, oh, okay. And then he showed me the music video, and I was like, these guys are fucking badass. And like, they're just like a straight up metalcore band, but they were cool. And everyone in that band was sick. And I messaged them, and I was like, you guys want to do a show with us in our hometown? And they were like, yeah, like we never played Bowmanville before. And they came down, and we met, and like they ended up being really cool and really great and everything. And we played, and I was at the Firehouse, and it was blistering hot.
That place is always hot anytime I've been there.
Yeah, and I got up, and I was so fucking nervous and like so much anxiety, and I had never done like anything on stage in my life or anything like that, and I didn't know how to scream properly. And anyway, I got up there and I did it, and I had a great time, but I was just so nervous, and like the band didn't sound great in the beginning, but it didn't matter to me. Like I was having a good time, and then I was like, drinking honey like a jackass, and then
so what? Like, were you literally up there like just drinking honey? Like, what was up with that?
No. I actually had like a big ass like bottle of honey that I would just like squirt into my mouth. I don't know why I thought it was such a good idea.
You know why? It's tea.
Tea and honey is good.
Lemon and honey.
Exactly.
And that's like, I always would tell like, kids who would come into the store and be like, yeah, I'm trying to scream. You have any recommendations? I'd be like, I don't know how to scream. I've tried to learn how to scream my entire life and never been able to figure it out.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just
lemon green tea is really good.
Yes. I literally was like, guys, go buy some plain green tea.
Yeah.
Some lemon extract and some like all organic shit, of course.
Yeah.
It's the best. No processed shit. And just drink that.
Yeah, and then maybe like a teaspoon of honey in there.
Yeah.
Coats. But I was just drinking honey straight up, and it destroyed my stomach.
Yeah, you would just be like, oh, like that would, oh.
And I was just drenched in sweat, and I was so like, and then after that night, I was like, oh, and Allie's like, yeah, come over and hang out, like we'll chill. And like I came over to Allie's house after the show, and my throat was just in absolute agony.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't talk at all. I was drinking like scalding hot tea, and it was doing nothing for me, and I couldn't even feel it. And I was like, like I couldn't. It just was the worst. It was one of the. It's probably some of the worst pain I've ever been in.
It probably didn't help with the honey too, because it would like coat your throat in a bad way.
Yeah. So after that, I was like, all right. So that was my first show. Didn't go over well.
Didn't go well.
And I was like, okay.
Whose first show goes well?
Yeah.
I guess, right?
So I was like, I need to learn how to do this properly. And so then I still use the power fry technique, which is, I mean, if you use power fry, whatever. But in my opinion, it's kind of like a shortcut. And
so what is? Because I do not know how to scream.
Explain.
Just maybe explain this a little bit more.
So there's two techniques. There's false chord and power fry. False chord is what I do and what most successful screamers do, and it's when you like literally just using all diaphragm, and you're just using like that technique from all it comes out of your stomach, and you're just forcing your voice out, and like the only thing you should be using your lungs and your throat for is to keep your air like tucked in and you're breathing properly, and your throat to just keep everything directed.
Yeah, you're not using your throat to make the noise. Yes.
That's what power fry is. Power fry is when you're literally just using only your lungs and mostly your throat, and it's usually high pitched. Mm-hmm. and it's very easy to do, and it's kind of a lazy method, and it will like fuck you up over time, and it'll mess up your voice.
So if there's any people listening right now who want to learn how to scream,
use false chord.
Use false chord. Do the work.
Yeah, and do the research. Like Austin Carlisle from Of Mice and Men used Power Fry in his old band Attack, and then after Of Mice and Men, for a while, he switched over to false chord, and you can hear it. Like if you listen to The Flood, he's using mostly Power Fry, and then if you listen to the reissue and the new songs, which are my favorite Of Mice and Men songs, he's using false chord, and then their new album he's using false chord.
So basically, at the end of the day, Power Fry is like all up here, it's like that kind of thing.
I don't really believe in it, and other people say it works, but like there's no evidence to me that it's like a good method. But
and I mean, as far as that, there are guys I know who used to scream for bands and stuff like that, and now like they're all fucked up. Like, there are days where my throat will be fucked up just because I tried so hard for so long to, like, not necessarily scream, but, like, yell and that. Like, there are days I'll wake up and I'll split.
That's another thing. Some people just yell and they don't use any kind of real technique. That's another thing that can mess you up. It's like when you're yelling, everyone knows that feeling of, like, going to a show and like, yelling and, like, singing along, and then the next day you've lost your voice. Imagine, like, doing that all the time, even when your voice is already gone. Like, it's
you
like
wouldn't be able to.
Some of the worst shit you can do. So, yeah, I knew after that Firehouse night, I was like, Jesus, I really need to learn how to properly do this.
Need to learn how to do this. And that's cool. It's admirable, the fact that you actually wanted to seek out knowledge in that and get better at it and basically be almost in a way like, hey, this is my skill.
Yeah.
You know, so Dom, what can you do? Like,
no, for sure.
But, so, out of my league, I need to know, because no one's ever told me this. If you know, if you don't, is what it is. Where exactly did that name come from?
Yeah, so obviously they had the name before I joined, but I kind of like learned about it when I came in. Some people go, oh no, you're in a band called Out of My League. What is it, like a pop punk band?
Yes.
Because it sounds like a pop punk name.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I fucking love pop punk. Some of my favorite bands are pop punk. But it's like, oh yeah, and the reason for that is we were the original plan for Out of My League once Taylor joined was that it was going to be like a post-hardcore / pop punk kind of band.
Yes.
And when they played Battle of the Bands 2013, they had a song that was literally only Taylor singing while playing guitar, and it was like very like pop punk.
Yeah.
So Out of My League, and people will laugh because this is like a really stupid ass name, but like it was going to be either Out of My League or Start the Fire. And
that is you might as well just call yourselves like Bring the Pizza or something at that point. Like,
yeah, and
that's great.
Anyways, it was Out of My League, and like I don't know, to this day it's still like a weird name to me, but like we've made a name for ourselves with it, and like other people really like it. So as long as like other people are taking it, as long as people are taking us seriously and it's not like tainting anything, which I don't think it is.
No, not at all.
Then it's fine. So yeah, it was just like the original Out of My League was just like a cool, like sarcastic-y kind of pop punk name, and then the band transitioned into a heavier,
it's kind of grown into something else,
metalcore direction, and the name just like stayed with us.
Yeah, and it's the fact that it's OOML is like that's sick. Anytime
that's like the nickname,
the acronym, and it's like that's sick. But it's funny to anyone who wonders if you've ever listened to. So sometimes when I mention Out of My League, I'll be like, "Oh, I preferred them when they were pop punk." That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Someone asked me, they're like, "They're not a pop punk
band."
band."
No, that was a thing.
Yeah, that was a legit thing. I was like, I prefer them. Like my with this podcast, I wanted to do like random T-shirts once in a while. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. But I wanted to do a T-shirt for whoever Out of My League came on first. I want to just present it to you and be like, "Yeah, it just literally going to be." Like Out of My League's logo and just say I preferred OOML when they were pop punk.
Yeah, no, it's funny though because we all love, well, for the most of us, love pop punk, and back when like we didn't really like have as serious of a stage presence, we used to put green tape on the amps.
Defend pop punk.
And Ali had exactly. Ali had in green tape Defend Pop Punk on his bass cab.
That made me laugh. I'm just
it was
like
so
what?
Dumb.
Oh, it just like I saw it and I was like, I think it was more because I didn't know Ali that well, and I was like, he's so like quiet and like reserved. I'm like, what is with this kid? But speaking about Ali, the band itself, Out of My League, in your opinion, because everyone's always going to have different opinions and different stories and that as far as each member and kind of what your relationship is like with them. maybe a little bit of what they bring to the table, you think, as far as the vocalist, as far as what they bring instrumentally in that? Like, I want to know all that stuff because that stuff interests me.
Yeah. Steven is definitely, like, first of all, can play, like, fucking any instrument. So that's always a bonus. Like, if Anthony's not there, Steven can hop on the drums and just shred and, like, help out writing drums, like, just as well, right? Like, just as well as Anthony could. Mm-hmm. And then he's just, like, very intricate and, like, he's very diverse with his guitar playing. Like, he can do heavy as fuck shit. Him and Taylor are the same in that sense. Like, they both can play very ambient and melodic and, like, weird stuff. And then they can play both, like, heavy as fuck, like, stuff. And then Taylor, like, he likes to, like, say, like, lead chugger out of my league. Like, Mav kind of says that, too. Just because he's, like, for the most part, Steven's a little bit more lead guitar and Taylor's more like rhythmic guitar. Yeah. But no, Taylor's like good and he's good for the writing process because he brings like the heavy element. And then
do they each kind of like contribute riffs basically? Or
yeah, for sure.
There's not like one riff writer, like,
And they bounce off each other really well. And then Anthony just like can come up with anything like really fast and like he follows along perfectly. He does. I love the way Anthony drums. Like when I first joined, like I didn't really pay much attention to like him specifically and like what he was doing like specifically, but like I remember one day at practice I just watched Anthony like most of the time. I was like, Jesus Christ, like this guy's actually fucking awesome.
I think he's like probably the most underrated drummer in the scene.
I agree.
Because some of the stuff, like I like one of the first times I met Anthony, I was like, dude, 6 Feet Under, post course, you do this little rim shot thing. I'm like, total pop. He's like, I'm like, and it's sick. He's like, thank you. Like, no one's ever said that to me before. Yeah. And I was like, I caught that shit. Like,
no, he does like, a lot of like very like under the radar, like sick fill-ins. And one time we played a show in Belleville like a year ago, like last summer, and we put a GoPro on his snare or something, and just like it was just cool to watch him. So yeah, Anthony's just a killer drummer, and that's like all there is to it. And he listens to like everything. Yeah. So it's good. And then I guess like for Ali and I like are usually on like the same page when it comes to writing songs, and Ali's just listens to like all the good modern music. So he comes and he'll be like, oh, like that's like it's hard to explain. Like he can be like, that's not gonna like work well like with like our shit because it's hard to explain. Like
that doesn't sound like something
that people are gonna like today and stuff like that. And I don't want to say like Steven and Taylor like don't know or anything like that, but like I don't know. Like
it's good to have someone who's conscious of that kind of thing.
Yeah, like when we were writing Black Sheep, we were trying to do a tempo change, and like Taylor and Steven were kind of like what the fuck, and then Ali was like, dude, bands do this all the time, and like he's just trying to explain, and like I don't know, so he like kind of just knows that kind of thing, and then. Yeah, so he's just good for that, and he like can write heavy as fuck stuff too, and like he understands how to do like the heavy shit and like what sounds cool and what sounds sick and everything. So I don't know, everyone is unique. And, like, but everyone blends perfectly together, and like when we write songs, we just jam, and like everybody will be bobbing their head like, yeah, this sounds badass. This
is good, and that's sick to have that kind of, you all fit well together, but you all kind of bring something different to the table. And would you say there's a band leader in the sense of not necessarily someone who's like, I'm making all the decisions, just if there's someone like, say you guys are having a disagreement about something and it's like someone needs to make that deciding factor?
I would say no. Like
you guys all kind of you're all kind of steering the ship, so to speak.
Yeah, like if there's a decision that one person doesn't like, we won't go through with it.
That's next question I was going to ask. So you guys do, it's hey, here's our new t-shirt. What do you guys think? You all love it. Taylor goes, I fucking hate it. Then we're
not going to do it because it's like, what the hell? Like that's not any way to function a business or anything. Because like the band is a business, right?
Exactly.
So no, when we're writing songs and all that, it has to be unanimous, and we'll only go forward if everybody's happy.
So you won't like necessarily like if everyone loves a song, but like one person's like, I don't know, I'm not really feeling it. You guys will
first we'll try to convince the person. Yeah. We'll be like, hey, listen, it sounds fucking badass, and here's why, and all that. Yeah. And like just try and play along. Like that's usually like how that can be, and like well, there's literally been times where like one person, like Steven will fucking hate something and we'll convince him like, no, like it's badass, or like Taylor won't like something, and then like once he like plays along, like, okay, well maybe you guys are right. Usually that's actually what ends up happening, like, but sometimes we actually will have to compromise or like rewrite a part or figure something
stuff like
else
that.
out.
Yeah, and it's good you guys have that, because some bands.
But that's just how it is, right?
Yeah, some bands will be like, no, like we're doing this, and it's like I think that's good to have, but like the best bands that I've seen, like they are full unanimous.
Yeah, well, for me, I just like feel uncomfortable like going into the studio or playing a live show and we're playing a song and there's a part that I love, and like just knowing in the back of my mind, like, yeah, like Anthony fucking hates this.
Yeah,
like he obviously isn't feeling passionate about playing it.
Yeah, that's so good. You don't want that. You want everyone, because you can tell when you guys play,
everybody's stoked.
You're all passionate. You can tell by the looks on your faces. Like there's no one who's up there, playing the role of, yes, in this song I'm playing the role of lead chugger. It's like, no, like this is what I want to do.
Definitely.
So that's sick. That's good to hear that you guys are like that, because that's always a worry I have with some bands. I'm like, man, I want to see like bands like you guys. I want to see you guys literally go on and fucking like when you guys are like headlining fucking, I don't know, fucking headlining Download, I'm gonna be like, fucking, it's out of my league, cool. But how do you feel now? You've kind of touched on this a little bit. How do you feel now about like some of the older material, as far as like, say maybe the stuff that like was written before you in the band, Beautiful Calamity, DNS, like Agony, that kind of stuff?
I'm definitely like proud of our work and like everything we've done, and that EP really means a lot to me, and it like hits home and everything, because it's like it's gonna be part of like my teenhood like forever. Yeah. But like I don't love the songs, and like I personally wouldn't feel comfortable playing them anymore, and all of us feel the same way. Like we don't play anything off Beautiful Calamity anymore because we've just moved on from that, and it's just not the same vibe as Resented. So I just feel like putting songs in with Resented that are off Beautiful Calamity, it's just going to be like a weird mixed bag.
It might feel a little weird for you guys if you're...
Yeah, Lily of the Valley, I still love to play because it's just a heavy fucking song, and like it's just a good jam, and it can still like fit in with Resented.
Yeah, I think there's maybe one or two that could, but as far as like if you guys were like, hey, we need to play like a 2 hours show,
well then that's a different
obviously
situation.
Yeah, he would do that, but
we like usually just try like to avoid it, just because that's, I don't know, like with Beautiful Calamity, like I'm glad you love it, and I'm glad a lot of other people love it, and I'm stoked that like it was received well. But like nowadays when I listen to it, I'm just like, these songs are like kind of skeletal, like it's just like a very verse chorus, and like some of it kind of bores me, and like there's a lot of problems I have with it. Of course I'm still proud, of course it still means a lot to me, but like it's just like very far under Resented and like shit that like we'd write now. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really like it as much anymore, but I'm still happy that it happened, and like we wouldn't be here without Beautiful Calamity.
Yeah, of course, it's a story of
progression,
a progression of where you guys were at that point.
Yeah.
So, and that's sick. So basically, what you're saying to me is, I can have 6 feet under. But so the first Battle of the Bands that you guys did, and all of the Battle of the Bands as a whole. Obviously, the first one that you were involved with.
Yep.
What was kind of going through your mind that first one? Like, did you guys go into it going, we're here to win this? Or are you like, we're here to just have a good time and play with a bunch of awesome bands? Or
that time when we went into it, we were like, we're here to win this. It was our, I think, like 15th, because I keep track of the shows we play, like lists. Like, I have like every show we've ever played written out on my wall in my room, just because it's like, I don't know, it's sentimental, it's cool to know.
That's it.
So like I just remember, I always know this for some reason, but I think that was the 15th or 14th show we ever played, and we were like just still like I was like pretty young, and I was just hyped, like yeah, like, and it was packed, and I was like, oh my god, like we're gonna win, and blah blah blah, and we came out and like gave it our all. We played like mostly stuff off Beautiful Calamity. We had a song called Witness the End back then. That was like a new cool song that we opened with. It had like the cheesy siren.
Yes. Now, just real quick.
Yeah.
Because when I was sitting there, right, I'm chilling, hanging out, and I'm not gonna lie, that intro and Anthony's drums, and that, I was like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, this is sick. Like, I'm like,
yeah, a lot of people
I
really
was
like
stoked
that
on
song.
it, but like, I hear the intro now, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like...
Yeah, it's a little bit, like, cheesy, but, like... And we actually did record that song nobody knows this, but we did record it after we won the year after that.
Oh yeah.
Like we won the studio thing. We recorded it and like we had it ready to release and everything, and we were like, you know what? I don't like this anymore. Like I don't feel comfortable with putting this out.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you just gotta go with your gut.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? Like I don't want to put this song out anymore, and everyone kind of agreed. And then so yeah, that's what, for anyone wondering, that's what happened to Witness the End, because people were expecting it to come out and everything. But
so is that still like floating around out there somewhere? You know, maybe one day.
Well, we still have the mix of it, and like maybe we'll put it out one day, like
just kind of as like a B-side. Hey,
just
check
for
this
the
out.
hell of it. And like we used to sound like that. And Witness the End was like such an experimental song, because it didn't sound like Beautiful Calamity at all. It didn't sound like Lily at all, and it sounds nothing like Resented. So it's just like a weird experimental song that we had that was just meant to be a hype intro, and it did the job. Like people got into it. But so anyways, that Battle of the Bands, we were like, yeah, like we're here to win, and we didn't even place that year.
Yeah,
but
that was a controversial year.
Yeah, but
not the winners, but
yeah,
you guys not placing.
I was bummed out, but after the fact. But the point, looking back, that's like some of the most fun I've ever had on stage, just because it was like a hometown show and like so many people were there. And yeah, so like that was how that show like meant a lot to me, and like I still think back to it like pretty often, and you can watch it on YouTube and everything, and like
which is sick.
We were all pretty stoked on it.
And even the fact that because that year that was the famous story. I'm not going to tell the freaking story because I've told it 100 times, but the year that I fucking was rocking out way too hard to Out of My League and ripped the ass out of my pants, like the most embarrassing moment of my life. And people were like, why do you tell that story? I'm like, because everyone already knows, because everyone who was there was like, what's going on?
Even if you don't know, it's fucking funny.
It's fucking hilarious because it's me. Like, I'm sitting there, I have to be all professional. I'm representing Gigs Music, and then Out of My League comes on, and I can't hold back the rock anymore. And I start rocking out, and I rip my, like, nice, like, I'm wearing these nice jeans that are all, like, fancy and fucking shh. And I'm like, oh, shit. I've told that story enough times, but
yeah,
that year, I mean, obviously, like when I say how did it feel when you guys went back and won? Like you went from not placing, which again, in my humble opinion, I'm just gonna say this because I can say this because it's my show. That was fucking horseshit, and that pissed not only me off, that pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah,
that pissed Chris off. Chris was like, "Why the fuck didn't they place?" But that is what it is. But to go back and win the whole thing.
Yeah. Now the thing about that is, by the time the next year rolled around, which is 2015 Battle of the Bands, we had played so many shows and done so much crazy shit between the last Battle of the Bands and that one, that at that point, it was kind of just like, yeah, here we are at another Battle of the Bands. We're going to play. It's going to be fun. We weren't even necessarily there to win at that point. We were just kind of there for the show and to be in our hometown. And like, it's just like a cool, sentimental thing to do, right?
Oh, for sure.
We got up there and it was like Fear the Unknown was playing and they're our friends and it was like their first Battle of the Bands. We were like, yeah, hopefully they'll win, whatever. And we played, and I guess it just showed how much we had improved and how much we had put in to our live show. Even today, like I think our live show now kicks that one's ass and like is even way better than the one that won its first place. So I don't know. I guess it just showed like how much we put into our performance and everything, and clearly it was enough to like wow the judges over. And we placed first, and we were like, "Fuck yeah, like that's sick." And yeah, so it was cool. It was really cool.
You know what I think really did it too, because Outshine were judging that year, right? And
yep.
I mean, obviously they were stoked. They're like, "Oh, I got in my league, Fear the Unknown, all these bands and that." And but when you guys were playing and Anthony's kick went out, and there was like that thing, and
it was a little bit awkward.
Everyone else would have been freaking the fuck out. But, and this is the night really that when I say my bold statement I made earlier that I think you're like best screamer, like front man in the scene, I don't know if you were freaking out, but you weren't showing it. You were cool. You kept everyone engaged. And I was kind of like, oh shit, boys, like that's not good. And literally I wasn't paying attention to what was going on behind you. You were just kind of like, no, you didn't say it, but you were just like, everyone's on me. You need to keep everything going, keep talking, keep kind of the vibe up as best you can.
Well, yeah, because at a normal show, like, I'd kind of just be like, all right, everyone, like, the fucking kick broke, like, whoops, like, we'll try. But this was like a thing where it's like, oh, this is a competition. Like, I got to be professional here. I got to, like, do something. I can't just stand around.
Yeah.
So I was talking, and, like, every once in a while I would kind of glance back and like see like how it was going, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, put the mic down for a sec, like, okay, I gotta keep talking.
Yeah.
And like the whole time I kept saying to the audience, I was like, don't worry, people, like it's gonna be fine. Like I was kind of talking out loud in my head too, like because in my head I'm like, okay, the chain, hopefully this thing gets fucking fixed, right?
Yeah.
So then it got all they fixed it, and they didn't cut our set down or anything.
No,
we were still
that was really cool. They did that too.
yeah, they could have easily been like, hey, well, you get one more song now because you just wasted 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But we got to play, because we had only played I think Lily, Resented, and A Loaded Gun, and we still had to play Spineless, and I can't remember if we played 3 more songs. I think we just did No, we did play 3 more. We did Spineless, Beautiful Calamity, and then we ended on Black Sheep. And that was when Black Sheep was still like relatively a new song.
Yeah, and was it a little different from the way it is on the EP, or
Yeah,
I feel like it was a little different
for
but-
Black Sheep. Back then, we used to drag out the chant
that's
at the
what it
end,
was, yeah.
and Taylor would be like, but he'd
Yeah.
do it over and over again, and then Steven would come in like, like higher up,
Yeah.
and it would build and build and build, and I'd be like, all right, say it back to me. Now it's kind of just like, all right, this isn't going to work at every show, and we should probably play it how it is on the record.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just kind of, we keep it rolling. But back then, that's how Black Sheep was. It's still the same song, just had like a longer
there's just a slight
draw out before the breakdown hit. So yeah, so that show was sick, and I appreciate the compliment.
And that was like
keeping it rolling.
when it was, because Brandon, like, he kind of looked over at me and he's like, and afterwards when you guys kicked back into it, and you just like fucking owned. He was just like, the fuck just happened? Like, he was like, holy,
well, I don't know. As soon
that's
as
the
that chain
best
got back
comeback,
on, I just looked at Anthony, I looked at the crowd, I'm like, all right, this is Spineless. Here we go. Like, not gonna waste any more time.
Yeah, and like literally, I said it to you guys just this past Battle of the Bands, and you guys are kind of headline. I was like, the second you guys kick into Spineless, it's over for me. Like, I'm not fucking tame anymore. I'm gonna flip this table over and just lose my shit, because I love that song. And when you guys played it, that was the first time I heard it, and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, just another crazy moment similar to that Anthony's kick break. We've had like shit break down while we were playing before, but one of the most nerve-wracking ones was we played with a band called Counterparts, and Gideon was playing, and it was just like this amazing tour that we got to open for recently in the Mod Club in Toronto, and Taylor's guitar just stopped working right before we went into Lily of the Valley. So we'd done a Resented into A Loaded Gun, and that's all we had done, and his shit stopped. And I went up to him, and he was like shaking his head, like he was kind of freaking out, like, all right. And I just put my hand on his shoulder, like, we're going without you. Like, we're gonna start the song without you, because like we didn't have time to waste.
Yeah, in that situation, you gotta go
and
as much as
I
you
looked
can.
at Anthony, and I just said, just go, and I was like, all right, Lily of the Valley. We went in, and he got his shit going right before the first like
that's sick.
So we did the heavy part without him. It was like a little bit empty, but whatever. We didn't have a choice at that point. And then after, I was like, felt shitty about it, and I went up to my friend Phil. He plays in a band called Weston, and he was like, yo, you definitely made the right call. Like, it was the right choice.
Yeah, when
that one really scared the shit out of me.
Oh, for sure. Like, when you're on stage
To like
as the front
hundreds
man,
of people.
yeah, especially like as the front man, you kind of have to make calls like that, and it's like afterwards you're like, hey bro, like, sorry we had to do that, but like we had no choice.
No, and when I said we're going without you, Taylor like nodded his head like, yeah, go without me.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we have to. So anyways, it ended up working out, and it was a really fucking cool show, and I was just happy to open for Counterparts, and one of my now favorite hardcore bands, Knocked Loose.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's sick. So talking about almost horror stories, it's things that people always have to hear about. Is there kind of any more like you said, you got a bunch of them?
Oh yeah, no, that one was scary. That was probably the most nerve-wracking one I could think of firsthand. I've had like the XLR straight up rip out. We were opening for we were opening for Terra Firma. We didn't open that night. When we were doing the run with Terra Firma, we played first, and then they would headline. But we were headlining that night. Well, we weren't headlining, but we were above Terra Firma, and then Lungless came down and headlined. It was at the Wasted Space, and we sold it out, and it was a packed show, and it was really hype, and everyone was going nuts, and we were like, again, during Lily of the Valley. Lily of the Valley is like a fucking curse. Like, bad shit always happens to us during that song. And Ali just like was like, like doing his thing, like just going ham, and he slammed his foot on
that.
the XLR, and ripped out, and it like ripped the inside of the microphone out. It didn't. I don't think it broke it, but it just like came apart.
Shit.
And I was like, oh Jesus, and I tried to put it back in and just like got jolted. Like it was just like, and I was like, okay. So I ran to the sound guy. I was like, this thing's broken. Like I need a new microphone or I need a new cable. I don't know what you had to come up and look at it. And they were still going, like they were still playing, and everyone was kind of like, what the fuck? And then sound guy came up and he was like, all right. And he was kind of like fucking around with it, and I just like literally just grabbed someone and just started like screaming like without the microphone, and like I was just like looking around in the crowd just trying to scream and like move my hands around and like just trying to get people like hyped up anyway. And like we went into the breakdown and everything with no mic, and then after he kind of got it fixed right as the song ended, and I took the mic. I'm like, oh, sorry about that, like whatever, the microphone broke, whatever, like
that's what happens sometimes, man. Microphones breaking shit.
Yeah, so that happened. Ali like straight up ate shit once and fell off the stage at the Atria. He just stepped too far forward and fell.
I know one time he like smashed his bass off the ground because I had to fix his input because it was all fucked up.
Oh yeah,
I remember that.
One time we were playing with Fear the Unknown, and Ali's bass just gave up on him, and he ran up to Adam like in the crowd, like Adam from Fear the Unknown, and he was like, I need your bass right now. Like I need it.
Yeah, I remember that too because I fixed it.
Yeah, and he's all right. So
that bass is cursed.
Yeah. So all of us have had problems, and everybody's shit has fucked up, and we've had to stall. But that's what happens, man. We've played a bunch of shows, and something's bound to go wrong.
Something's bound to happen once in a blue moon. It's how you either recover from it, pun intended, or how you just there you go, or how you like, oh shit, what do I do? It's figuring out, not necessarily stalling, but like keeping things going.
Yeah, definitely.
So kind of the flip side of that, do you have like kind of a favorite show, like a couple of favorite shows? Like if I said to you, what's the favorite show you've ever done?
My favorite show we've ever played was, it's a bit of a toss-up, but I'd say my favorite one is we opened for the Acacia Strain, Fit for an Autopsy, Counterparts, and Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan didn't make it over the border that day. I was fucking pissed. But
I remember hearing that they didn't make it over, but I never heard why.
Yeah, it could have been anything. I think actually Vincent from the Acacia Strain, when they played, was like, yeah, one of the guys forgot their fucking passport, like an idiot, or just something stupid like that. Anyway, so yeah, we played with Kublai Khan, and the Acacia Strain.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know
God damn it. Yeah. Anyways, and we played with Northlane before that, and Northlane was like probably a little bit more of a crazy show for the crowd, and Northlane was like our first huge show.
Yeah.
And I remember we finished playing Northlane, and I was like, wow, like we'll never talk, like there'll never be a better show. And then the promoter just came up to me, he was like, you want to do the Acacia Strain? And I almost like shit my pants. I was like, because the Acacia Strain are legends, like to me and to a lot of people in this scene. And I was like, yes. Like
I'm there.
So anyways, we played the Acacia Strain, and I was like, okay, I'll tell this story first, because it's
tell
like
as many stories as you want. You do whatever you want.
The morning of Northlane, I threw up and like burned my throat. Oh, shit. And I actually got so angry, like I almost put my fist through the wall. I was so frustrated because this was such a big deal, and I was like, oh my god. And my vocal performance was not the best that night. It was a phenomenal show, one of the best we've ever done, but I was not on my A game. I was stressing, like on stage I was stressing out, and like my voice was like a little bit strained. You can watch the set, is on YouTube, and you can hear my voice. And then after that, watch the Acacia Strain set, and it's I think is one of my best performances personally.
Yeah.
I was like doing my making sure I was on my complete A game for the voice. Everyone was going insane. The whole band like sounded badass, and just the whole vibe of the night. And another thing that made the Acacia Strain so great is I was a little bit nervous going in, just how the reception would be, because it's a hardcore and deathcore lineup, like Fit for an Autopsy.
Yeah,
and
they are like, I love those guys, but they're like definitely
like
more in the
way
deathy kind of
categories. And then you've got Counterparts and Kublai Khan, who are like hardcore and heavy hardcore. So it's like, oh gee, and we're up here playing clean guitar and stuff, so like I'm a little nervous. But everyone went insane, and everybody came up to me after and was like, you guys are like fucking great. And I was like, wow, like this is like overwhelming, right? And it was almost sold out, and it was the Mod Club in Toronto, like I think over 400 people. and it was just nuts. And I've never had a better time on stage. The rest of the night was great. We got to sit in VIP. I got to watch one of my favorite bands, the Acacia Strain, from above. The only thing that I regret was not talking to Vincent Bennett from the Acacia Strain, because he's just such an intimidating person. He's like so big, and like he's been everywhere, and he's been around, and like he's probably got so many people that have talked to him, and like his Instagram name is "Don't Call Me Vince." His name is Vincent, and he wants only to be called Vincent. I just find that so funny.
That's awesome.
And he's like, I hate being called Vince. And I was just so scared I would come up to him and be like, hey, Vince. Like, I just had that fear in my
Even
gut.
though you know, it's just like, no.
But anyways, and I didn't see him all night. And then at one point, I just saw him when we were loading in. It was just after their sound check. And like, he was just standing there talking to like one of the merch people. And he was just standing there, like had his fists up on his bag.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, is there anywhere good to eat around here? And like I knew he was about to leave. I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother him. And he left, and I was like, fuck. And every big band, and like I don't want to say like famous, but like really big band that like we love, that we've played with, that like people look up to, I've met all of them except for the guys from the Acacia Strain.
Oh shit.
But
I'm sure hopefully you'll get the chance to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my favorite show, Acacia Strain. And then the show with For Today was great. The show with Counterparts was great, even though that shit happened during Lily. And we've had tons of great shows in Oshawa and like Belleville, and I don't know. There's too many to think. Like we've played so many amazing shows. But Acacia's my number one.
Oh, that's sick. So Acacia Strain, that's the number one show you'd say. Cool.
I have a big framed poster of it in my room.
Oh, that's sick. That's sick. So you were kind of talking earlier about what you used to do to try and prep for a show, drinking honey and so forth. Even if it was that one time. Is there anything you do now that you kind of do that like to prep for a show or?
Okay, so warming up for shows, really all I like to have is at least 10 minutes of vocal warm-up and just a bit of water before I go on. So usually if we're playing and like we're after a band, they'll be like halfway through their set, and I'm like, all right, they'll be done maybe 10 minutes. I'm going to go somewhere in the back and start warming up. And a lot of people don't do this, and I'm like surprised. Like when I was learning how to scream, I was like, everyone always said, always warm up before you record, before you play, everything. And a lot of the guys that I love that like are doing shit now, like what's his name? I was talking to Matthew Krawchuk. He plays in a band called Beyond Deviation. Insane deathcore band. Love them. He's probably the best deathcore vocalist in the scene right now, in my opinion. He's like, what do you do to warm up? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I don't really warm up before shows, like before recording and stuff maybe, but like I don't know. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And like Aiden from Falsifier was there, and he's like, yeah, I don't really warm up that much either. And I was like, wow, because you guys sound fucking amazing. So I guess it just, some people, like it can work for some people, but I don't know. I've just been told, and I always feel like weird if I don't warm up, and sometimes like my voice will hurt a little bit the next day if I don't warm up.
It's like some people have rituals they do. Like you'll hear some guys like it's a famous saying that Ronnie James Dio, if you know,
I know who Dio is.
Just sometimes I don't know. Like I'll say something, and they'll be like, "Who?"
No, I know Dio. Yeah.
I figured you would as a vocalist and that, but he said David Draymond from Disturbed tells a story, because David Draymond does not warm up. He might now, but he didn't back when he talked about this. He was like, he asked Ronnie James Dio one time about warming up, and Dio laughed. He said, "Brother, if you got to warm up, you ain't got it." Wow. And I was like, "Fuck, okay." Yeah. But then you got guys like Ivan Moody from Five Finger Death Punch. He does not warm up. And he'll go out there, and his whole thing is, I don't warm up. That's my thing. It psychs me out. I go out there, and it's all emotion. If I go for some and it comes out a little dry, so be it. So some people, they see it as that, but then you got other guys like David Draymond who, like, now he does that. And
just for me, it just fucks me up if I don't. Yeah. Like, that's just how it is for me, and I just feel uncomfortable if I don't do it. And yeah, so I just warm up, have a bit of water, like, and I can feel it in my voice. Like, I'll do like a couple like just like things, and I'm like, okay, like that sounds sick, I'm gonna sound good. So yeah, I don't know, I always do that. And like if I know I'm gonna be going like insane, like I'll like stretch my legs, and
that's another good thing too. Stretch, kids, stretch. Yeah.
So
you don't do any like scales or anything like that?
Yeah, I do.
You do.
Yeah. No, I use a lot of singing warm-ups before I go out, even though I rarely sing
You're
on
like,
stage.
la, 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 la,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I do like buzzes and hums and then stuff like that.
Gets things warmed up.
Yeah, and like I'll try and hit like the highest note that I possibly can singing, just so that I know like my range is like all good. And yeah, so I do like a lot of singing warm-ups and a lot of like I do like both. And I learned a lot of the singing warm-ups actually from a teacher at my school. A lot of people like know this, a lot of people don't know this. I was in a musical at Bowmanville High School.
Really?
Yeah, and I sang in it, and I learned like a lot of the singing warm-ups just like for that. And I was like, these warm-ups like really help me, and I use them like all the time now before I go on stage. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. It's good to know that you have some warm-ups. The moral of the story, kids, is warm up, because Dom does it, and if you look up to Dom, warm up.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do it without warming up, I mean, more power to you, but I can't. So.
Yeah, eventually that shit can catch up with you.
That's true too. It
See
can fuck
Chad
you up
Kruger.
over time. Yeah.
Friggin' Chad Kruger, go back. Look at what he's dealing with right now.
Yeah.
Never warmed up, never took care of his voice, and now he's fucked.
Sorry, go ahead.
Regardless of how you feel about Nickelback,
Yeah.
it can happen.
No, one of my favorite vocalists ever, his name's Adrian. He sang in a band called North Lane. We opened for North Lane, but when Marcus, their new vocalist, was in, and Adrian was phenomenal. He's badass, but he trashed his voice.
Yeah.
And he said part of the contribution was he never warmed up, so he had to give up music.
Yeah, and there are guys now that like their voices are just trashed.
Yeah.
Like you'll hear live videos and just be like, "Oh my god, what happened?"
Definitely.
And you just got to be careful. All right, so I think that's a good place to start off for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this part 1 of my conversation with Dom. I know I had so much fun doing it, just listening back to it when I was editing it. It was really funny just to see how much I really enjoyed it. I always really enjoy these kind of sit down conversations with people, and that I'm probably going to do a little bit more of these than I have. I want to try and do about one a month if I could, but you might see me do a whole bunch of them coming up, just because they're so fun to do, and there's so many people I want to talk to, tons and tons of people. And if you're someone that you want to be on the podcast, you just let me know. Come on and we'll have a chat. You know, like I say, it doesn't have to be someone who's necessarily in a band or who has a freaking gaming website or anything like that. It can be anybody at all to talk about literally anything. That is why the Harder Show is what it is. It is a podcast for the everyday person to entertain you, and it is made by an everyday dude who just wants to entertain you and who just wants to have fun. Because at the end of the day, I do this because it is fun for me and because I really enjoy doing it, and I enjoy hanging out with you guys, helping you get through your day, whether you're at work, you're at home, you're doing some work around the house, you're doing some driving, whatever you're doing. Thank you so much for tuning in and letting me be a part of your day. You know I appreciate it. No matter how you're listening, you know there's 3 ways to listen to The Harder Show. You can either listen on the SoundCloud, you can listen on the iTunes, and you can listen on the YouTube. Be sure to follow me if you are listening on the SoundCloud. Be sure to like this particular podcast here if you are, and check out all the podcasts. I've got all the archives of The Harder Show are all up there. Once I get into a little bit more, a little bit higher episodes as we keep trucking along here, I'm going to start doing playlists and things like that. But until I get to probably about episode 50, I'm going to hold off on that. I don't quite feel like there's enough episodes yet to justify doing that just yet. But be sure to follow me on SoundCloud if you are indeed listening. And feel free to make an account, because if you make an account and you follow me, I can actually see who is physically watching the podcast. And hey, I may even give you a shout out, or I definitely will at least message you and thank you for listening to The Harder Show. You guys know if you listen on YouTube, you know to subscribe to The Harder Show. It's very, very easy. If you guys noticed, I did do a little intro video for the channel there. I just did just a quick one. I'm going to start doing the YouTube thing a little bit more. You guys know that the live cast is up there, and I'm definitely going to be doing a live cast again soon. Not going to say exactly when, but definitely soon. I can promise you guys that. I know how much most of you guys really enjoy the live cast. So be sure to follow The Harder Show on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to us so that you can keep up with everything that is going on. And last but not least, you know that iTunes is definitely the easiest way to listen to The Harder Show. The second you subscribe to The Harder Show on iTunes, it will automatically be downloaded onto whatever device you're listening on, whether it's your iPad, your iPhone, your Mac, however you're listening, you literally subscribe to The Harder Show. You wake up one morning and boom, Harder Show. Download it right to your device. It is so simple, guys. It is really the easiest way to listen to The Harder Show. And if you are listening to The Harder Show on iTunes, be sure to leave us a rating of any kind. I always love the 5-star ratings, of course. Those make my day. But hey, if you have some constructive criticism, write it down for me. Don't be afraid. But if you do give The Harder Show a rating and all on iTunes, be sure to leave a comment of some kind, even if it's just like, "Hi, TJ," so that I know who you are and I can thank you properly on the podcast, because I really do appreciate your support, guys. Seriously, I do. It means the world to me. I say it all the time. It means the world to me that people are actually supporting this and checking it out. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. That is going to be it for me. I will talk to you guys on Sunday for part 2 of my conversation with Dom. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too, and I will see you then. Take it easy.